Well, hello, everybody. Yeah, we're laughing because if y'all could only hear what we were doing before the show, it'd crack you up. Talk about words. Imagine that, Trina, just like crack you up.
Yeah,
Anyway, just like, yeah, listen to what you say, Steiger. But anyway, if you're here, then you're in the right place at the right time. This is a second look. You know who I am and my lovely co-host, Miss Trina Phoenix. How are you doing, man? You're just a golden, it's like America has that song, Golden Sister, hair
oh,
so bright. Yeah.
thank you.
Hmm.
I work on it every day, making the light bigger than the darkness. That's all you can do.
And that's a full-time job as
Yeah,
well. There we
especially
are.
now.
We are live. I see us now on YouTube. So we are synced, my dear, as I go back up here.
Yay.
Yeah. So we just let's speak favor over everybody and the world, because the world can use some favor. Um, and I want to say something, Trina. It's interesting because I think the effect on the 11th, which was, Veterans Day here in the United States, but you're seeing on the geopolitical landscape, there are changes, and it's interesting. I'm saying, so is this just a coincidence? Before we did this, the world was ready to pull the trigger, World War III was, and it's not that it hasn't gotten any more dangerous, but it seems the rhetoric has toned down. Did we cause that?
I think yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just such a confirmation that we really do affect our world. I mean, sometimes it's not as much as we would like, but every little bit helps. Yeah, and every single thought and every word you create is
Oh, I
in
mean,
it never stops.
it never stops. It's so interesting. That's what I was talking about yesterday. But let's just and nothing missing, nothing broken. Uh
Nothing.
because this is important because it affects us all. And it was interesting yesterday, and when you come into like repeating a phrase, and this is centered on what is called automata, which is the self-acting, self-aware, self-will consciousness, and how the consciousness impacts energy in such the way that this realm, or wherever we go after this realm, it seems to be it seems to be immersed with this energy. Now, this energy, you have to learn about it. Apparently, the ancients knew about it. But
Yes.
when we come into speaking the word, because this is interesting, the human being, us, they say that we only got the ability to talk about 70,000 years ago. Cosmologically, that's like, it's a second ago. So you think about a species that was having to either grunt or potentially telepathic, but they never were impacting this energy field with the vibration, the voice, the chakra. As you said yesterday in the chat room, the fifth, I believe, is the fifth chakra, correct?
Yes, it is. And it's interesting because it's blue and our sky is blue, matrix. It's crazy when you start looking at all of these layers. When you look at the properties of color, then you look at the properties of sound, you look at the properties of where are these in the body, as above, so below. It's a brilliant dance of creation, and it appears it's all coming from our consciousness.
Yeah, or as one theory is out there, is that this is what we call essence, this existence. And to finish out the thought that, so when we got the ability to speak, we began a chain reaction. And particularly now, where there's just this cacophony of vibrations out there, all intermixing, all diluting each other, some amplifying. But by repeating a phrase, a prayer, a mantra, words create a unique wave of frequency that then will create that reality around you. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're the one speaking the mantra, the prayer, however it is. And I saw an example of this in this documentary I was watching. It literally forms concentric waves,
Yeah.
and the amplitude is determined by the intensity of thought, consciousness. Yeah,
We can see our thoughts manifest in water with vibration, and
true.
vibration creates an effect in the real world. So our thought vibration is what's manifesting your immediate reality bubble. And of course, it's interlocked collectively because we're under a collective agreement as well. So the collective agreement, I think, would be Earth itself. And I've been thinking a lot about this soul and spirit thing. I wonder if we're inhabiting a spirit, but the soul is like the consciousness. I wonder if we have it backwards. Like the soul is the actual consciousness because the sun is the light is the information, the light is the code. So the soul, sun, same word. You got to look at the words to understand the truth. So I've been looking a lot at this. I was like, I wonder if the soul is actually first because that would be your emanating ball of light.
Well,
Soul.
the dragon told me, my moments of interacting with whatever that entity is,
Hmm.
that that my spirit guides are telling me that, and it's interesting because I hadn't really thought about this, that this soul that I keep searching for, wanting to define, and we all have, I mean, it goes all the way back to Socrates, um, is that the soul is of the earth. The spirit has the uniqueness of blending in, and not all spirits can blend with the earth soul. It's her gift to what we call temporal sentient beings, us.
Wow.
Proof of this, and this is what the dragon was speaking, that in the animal kingdom, of which we are a part of, we,
Mhm.
if you look at it, they say that we're at the top. Questionable, but anyway, the gift to the animal kingdom is a soul
That
because
makes
it's of
sense.
the earth. The animals don't have spirits, they have souls, and their souls are forever connected to the earth.
Oh, see, I just my brain bounces with that into a bunch of fractals that I see.
Exactly.
Right, because I
Yeah.
see animals going to different planets just like humans do. I see that this is like a petri dish of petri dishes of petri dishes of petri dishes, and it's all being created at different layers and levels and dimensions, and it's all based on the formation of the code takes it has to take a construct on because the elemental beginning of it, its foundation, is what dictates its laws of growth. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah, because
Yeah.
and it's the fact that is the creation of the soul is, as one theoretical physicist said about time, we have the perception that infinity means forever. It does not. It's
Infinite,
infinity is
infinite. It's
exactly,
finite,
you're taking that which is finite, and what you're trying to say is that it's going to continue.
right? And eternal is different than finite. So when we look at the
Yes,
finite,
bingo.
we're looking at the loops, we're looking at the geometry, we're looking at the manifested physical realities. Eternal is formless. It's all potentials existing simultaneously within a soup of energy that's unformed, it's swirling and moving and changing. It's just so
It's that
different.
coalescing
Yeah,
of,
it
you
is
know,
essence. It's essence of all that is. It's essence, and infinite is material, it's finite, it's timed, it's time, space, it's different creation
you
part.
have to give up, and as I'm understanding this construct of time, it's the illusion of it gives that sense of motion, nothing stays timeless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear that, well, this is timeless. Then
Yeah.
if you define the word timeless, by the way, everybody, hello, Julianne is in the room. Hi, dear. Go-Go's there. Chloe, how you doing? Lynn, Shirley, and Paul Joe, and I saw Go-Go from all the way over from Croatia.
Sure.
Lauren, wow. God,
Hi, Juliana.
what's with you folks down in the southern hemisphere? Love y'all, man. Y'all are like, morning risers far out. That's how, yeah. Well, anyway, much love, everybody. Nina, how are
Much
you
love.
doing, my dear? Eon, good to see you, and Bonnie, and
Yeah.
uh Julie says no time. Yeah, and that's an interesting call from Newcastle. Good to see you as well. Voice by Brown Butterfly. Good to see you. And by the way, Jenny, we're sending you out healing to the
Yeah.
family. As she's experiencing what so many families do when you send your children to school. School is like a gauntlet, that's
Oh,
they're going to get
talk
sick.
about a petri dish.
Exactly. Thank you. Took the words right out of my head, man. Because that's what it is. And so apparently there was a bug going around, and Jenny, she's one person taking care, I think, of two or three, and that has to be a chore. So
Yes, it
Jenny,
is.
we love you.
I had five of them. Two
See,
mine and
see,
three adopted.
there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
And
Mary Wins, we
13
love you,
nieces and
darling.
nephews. So we had a small softball team.
Yeah. So Jenny, we know,
Yes.
we empathize, we sympathize, and we healize. There we go. So anyway, Ginger, so good to see you again. Sending you abundance right back at you. And Jenny, she's sending that to you because I think Jenny says she's going to try to peek into the chat room. I can dig that.
Yeah.
Tito says that's rough. Yeah, it is rough.
Yes.
It is. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Ooh,
It
ooh,
is. So
ooh.
getting back to the soul then. It's interesting because now it begins to make sense to me that if you look at the esoteric of the word that I studied, which was the Bible, the book of spells, which it is, but particularly the book of Hebrews, is a very interesting book because now I look at it through esoteric eyes, and I'm
Yes.
going,
Totally
hmm,
different gig, man.
yeah, going, hmm, I
Then when you
think,
wrap it too with astrotheology, then it really goes cuckoo.
yeah.
And you can read it three different ways. Yeah.
And you begin to realize that those folks, I don't care what anyone says, they may have not had figured out how to build insulated homes with air conditioning and plumbing and all the others, well, Rome was pretty sophisticated, had a sewer system, the whole bit, but I digress. But here's the thing, Trina, they knew some shit. They knew some shit. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of Hebrews 4:12, where it says the word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword, able to cut asunder the spirit from the soul, the bone from the marrow.
Yep.
Now you look at that kind of in a cult perspective, they're saying something there. It's deep.
Yes, and I do think that that is accurate because I just do think that is accurate because that serpent dream that I had, Wayne, it goes back
Cutting
to
out of
that
the
a
serpent.
hundred times. Yeah, because that's what I was like. Is this soul is what's binding me to this prison? Is this soul which is binding me to this earthly plane of horrible things that happen? I know that creation can do better than this. That was I'm like, I don't like what I see with the kids, and I don't like what I'm seeing here. I, I don't think I would want to participate in that again. So I was sincere, and that was when I
So how
said,
about this, hon? So the
hmm,
dragon, I was deep in meditation on Saturday. It was a phenomenal day. The sun was out, and anyway, um, Souls for spirits are highly prized.
Yes,
Um, Not
highly
all spirits
prized.
can have souls, but once you obtain a soul, you don't want to release it. You don't want to let it go.
Because I think it's a vehicle to interlock spirit and matter. I think it is the component that is necessary. Is you that's why it says you can't get to the Father unless you go through the Son. You have to connect to a solar logos, and through the connection of the, and I think there's multiple sons. That's why it says you are sons of God. I think there's multiple solar logos that exist within creation, and those are all conscious beings of creation. And we're in a solar logos right now. And I think our solar logos is shifting with the Aquarian age. I think you get new rays coming from the
Mm-hmm.
great central sun or solar logos, and that's going to shift the information beaming into our consciousness, the planet, and therefore it'll start to translate into a new experience on Earth. But the soul, I see it as it's like a vehicle to go into the manifested worlds. And it's a vehicle that can hold a part of your spirit, and it can animate. So without, like, the spirit, I think is the part that's the eternal part. But I'm
Well,
like, we have it backwards.
well,
I'm
no,
like,
I think that
thank goodness.
we were doing a study on Ghostland, and the whole idea behind the occult knowledge for Ghostland was this: that the insight, and you start connecting the breadcrumbs. You're going, oh, okay.
Yeah, and they
But
can
in
capture a
Ghostland,
soul.
part
They
part
can capture a soul. They
was the
want the
here's the
soul.
deal.
They're trying to
In
feed off the
Ghostland,
soul.
those are souls that the spirit has discarded. Now, follow me out on this.
Hmm.
Um, the
Wow.
spirit is still supreme, but you're right in the fact that the soul is that vehicle that actually reincarnates. The spirit does not, the soul
Yeah,
does. And that there are those the concept of ascending has been polluted. And people think it's a step up. The ascension is really when a spirit says, I no longer need this soul.
I think
And
that's a big part of it, Wayne. That was my conclusion when I cut myself out of the serpent. I was like, I'll drop it all. I'll stomp on it like rags. I'm like, I'll drop this physical
but
body.
here's
I'll
the
drop
thing,
it
the
all.
soul is a living essence.
It is. I know
Yeah.
that's true. That I
Yeah.
know is true. I've seen it.
You know,
I
there are stories that I'm beginning to connect when the spirit becomes so what's the word? It's deeper than disdain for the soul, because the soul cannot be, you've heard the term a corruptible soul. He's a corruptible
yeah,
individual. Well,
yes.
there's truth to that. And there is now, as I've been instructed, the soul, when a spirit says, I've had enough, and that separation takes place, the soul is literally on its own, and it looks for another spirit entity to attach to or to make claim to.
I think
I could
so.
be completely wrong, but it
That's
makes a
what I'm
lot of
always,
sense.
well, what I've always seen was, that's why I'm confusing, because I hear so much contradictory information. And I look at all of it because
Yeah, you
you don't
have
have,
to.
yeah, I'm looking at all
Yeah.
of it. So I was like, okay, I've always understood that the spirit was like a spark of invisible consciousness. Like when I asked the Lord, how was I created? How was I made? And literally they showed me a thought forming a ball of consciousness that became me eventually, dropping down through different ways of creation and layers of creation.
And you
So,
said waves. That is so important, because it
oh,
gets back into
waves.
this full circle of where the thought, as I said yesterday, the thought is not words, but all words are thought.
Yes.
And it's that in between, that 0 point, that this is where these concentric waves are formed through thought with words spoken. And
Yeah.
then you have this life. It's
Yeah.
called as I said yesterday, the informal language and the formal algorithm. So words are not thought, but when the thought is applied to words, then they form these concentric phases or waves.
Yes.
Emotion is the frequency of a wave. If the energy stays the same when the frequency or the wave was first created, it changes its surroundings.
Yes.
Wow.
The environment plays so much a part of what you become in any construct. That's why I said I see animals living on different existences, and they might be a little bit different because of the environment they're brought into. But I see that these structural soul templates, I see them as templates of consciousness. So, like you said, our soul belongs to the earth. Absolutely, because we've put the spirit and we have a soul to integrate into the earth. And as you go into the earth, your soul construct is of earth. But
And you talk
goes the
about the
bubble.
soul too. I'm remembering your friend whose father passed over, and what
Yes,
was it? Creating a web of consciousness. Was that the
yes,
term?
yep.
It's interesting because the soul, if the spirit departs from the soul, then the soul has to begin and it's interesting because now it comes into the fact, so do all souls have spirits?
I think oh, that's a tough one because I've seen it go so dim to where you can see nothing left.
All
Like
right, so let's take a mass murder. That
no, they still
this
have it.
person from the very beginning has it within itself that this is what it does. It gets pleasure from it, and in death is not really a problem because it knows as a soul, as long as the earth is here, it has that opportunity to recycle back in. So my point to that is, so what if that soul becomes so corrupted that the spirit says, screw this.
I
I
think
have
that's
tried to rehabilitate you.
Wayne,
I've
what if
tried to
that's the
teach
second
you.
death? What if that's
Bingo.
what
Now that's a very good point on.
that's what I thought about. Every time I think of that concept, I was like, I wonder if that's the true meaning of the second death.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe that's that part of us that I know some people who are dying right now, and one particularly is they're going to have to medicate the individual. I mean, because this individual is so afraid, so much fear
Yeah.
in this death thing, and it got you see this and you think about this. So if the spirit says, I'm done with this, isn't that what the Bible is all about? What Jesus, it's not the saving of the spirit, it's the saving of the soul. Wow, you start connecting the dots on this, and it's the same thing. I know Robert V is doing some of in his shows on Muhammad, because listen, the Muslim world is it's the brother to the Christian world, which is the brother to or the stepbrother to Judaism.
Correct.
I mean, it's all inner, and it's about the soul. It's not about the spirit.
Yes. Here,
Weird.
here, it's always about soul. So it seems like nobody even discusses. And then remember, it's like all sin will be forgiven except for if you sin against the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, you see, that's
Something,
the
something
spirit
to that.
exactly.
Yeah, the
And it gets
spirit.
back to that Hebrews 4:12 for me. I mean, I was much like Jeffrey Doherty. We consumed the Bible. That's what it was. I mean, for me, that was the
Oh,
golden Willy Wonka ticket.
yeah,
It says to study thyself approved.
yeah.
So and I have an identic memory on this. So and but my point is that so now I'm looking at this and it's solving a mystery, at least for me, where, okay, there's affirmation that the spirit and soul, quote unquote, are two different entities blended into one thought. Wow.
Uh, yeah, it's two different things
And
completely.
so you would be afraid if, particularly if, and I'm just saying, if there now could be the potential, because, since we're talking about Ophiuchus and in the 13th sign, that we're in a different part of the constellation, the whole zodiac has shifted. So now I'm beginning to think, well, what if it's not the spirit? What if it's the soul that's looking to be born? And the only way that it seems to be able to do that is that it has to find a spirit.
I think
I don't know.
the soul is big, Wayne. Really
Yeah, I
big.
think it's
Really
or
big.
is it the other way? Is it the spirit and I don't know, because
What I see is the spirit is the light that penetrates a potential. So you know the
yeah,
wave or the particle. So what it is I see source, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, creating thoughts. And as these thoughts emanate from this massive light, which I think might be the great central sun. So,
now when
or
you say light, we have to find that, because light does no longer means to me this the radiation that comes off
no,
this star.
my definition of light is consciousness.
Yeah,
Because consciousness it vibrates so high it produces movement. It's
it does.
yeah, it's alive. So this consciousness, but all I can see is light. So this is what they showed me. They showed me a thought coming out of this huge consciousness creating a ball of light, and that ball of light was the first uh separation from that all thing. So that through that separation of that ball of light, I was able to bring that ball of consciousness into a soul. And that soul is like the the main operating system for all locations in the physical material realms. So you enter the ball and you can fractal out the ball into many different locations simultaneously at the same time, creating different characters throughout the playing field. That's what they showed me.
That's interesting. Then some think that, if you look at that I'm actually getting a photon meter that actually measures um, photons, that like when spirits come into this realm, because this gets back using your thing of the central consciousness, that if, for instance, in Texas, outside Uvalde, they have this place called the Martha Lights, much like the Brown Mountain Lights. And you can go out there and these lights they just appear
Yeah.
and they float, some go high. And so I'm connecting the dots, the breadcrumbs, and I'm going, all right, a lot of these places are ancient Indian burial grounds,
Yeah.
battlefields. So I'm thinking to myself, so what we call in the paranormal world residual energy is really the essence of a soul
Yes.
that's reliving that moment.
Yes, that's exactly what I think it is. And think about it, Wayne. You were talking about photon.
Hmm.
What is a photon? Photo on.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
turn the image alive. The image takes on life. And the
Bingo.
photo, it goes on. On was one of the first names of God on this planet. O-N. We still use it on all of our light switches. We use it as a representation to explain electricity on, off. This is our foundation. It's this energy, this light that's conscious, it's alive, and being able to capture it into a separate sleeve and put it on a playing field and express consciousness through separation, because we know separation is an illusion. So
Hmm.
to experience these things, we had to create a game. So we are playing the game called life. And to be life, you have to take on a capsule to incorporate a part of that consciousness, which is the spirit part, I think. And it's before the sleeves of individuality. It's just all that is existing. So we take on these separate balls and think about it. That's another name of God, ball.
Yeah, yeah.
Then on, photon. And then you look at the electron. What do they call the electron? The electric ladies, the three ladies that encircle and dance around the atom. So
Hmm.
the female principles swirling and moving and creating the action of the electron of the atom and atom. This is the atom field.
So those, when I think of that, again, that, finished out the thought, like at such places at the where I saw the Martha lights, and same thing in Brown Mountain, North Carolina. Um, it now makes sense that souls wander the earth. It absolutely makes sense to me now. The question that I'm drawn to now is that, okay, so Atom, you're thinking about these beings in the Sumerian text, it's on, an.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it now becomes a thing that, well, if you were a atom, would you not like to have more electrons or such around you? Follow my point on this, is that this is why these gods demand worshipers, because the soul connects to this being that has this divine spark, let's just say.
Yeah, and what I see is it has the ability to produce all the images. It's the
Hmm.
image maker because the image is what forms the word. It's all about the image. You are made of
And
the
see,
image of
that
God.
is in
Oh
the
no,
word, because
mhm.
that's the first thing that you read in the book of Genesis, in the beginning. Well, that means that this demigod came from a dark place. And apparently, now this is going to blow your mind, Trina. If you follow the thought out, then this entity came from a place where the word was never spoken, because
Yes,
it says it spoke.
yes,
So, whoa, let's
yes,
step back on that a little bit. It spoke.
yes.
And the point is that if it had come from wherever it came from, we know it's darkness, but apparently the spoken word was either prohibited, was not allowed, because these beings are aware of the cause and effect. And once the word is spoken, you can't take it back. And that gets into the whole thing of going, okay, so it spoke into existence.
Yes, but that's only here in the higher realms. I see it is thought
My
into.
point is exactly because it doesn't exist in the higher realms. What
So
it's
weird.
talking about is the lower realms.
I wrote this on 8/7 and it 8/7/23. It is so
Okay.
weird because this is so on track with kind of what we're talking about. So what I was seeing was that we are connected to the elementals through the soul, through the earth. All this stuff is about the soul being able to take on its surroundings and merge with it and interact with it and become a part of life with it. So like you said, the animals have souls. I think the trees have souls.
I
I think
do.
they all have souls because they all have templates of creation and a process of entropy and life and a
And they're
regeneration.
of the earth. They're truly of the earth.
And of the earth is to me, okay, so what they showed me, so as the unseen formed light enters into the L realms of the L gods, the mind realms of
Because
creation.
L is God.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all mind. So they were showing me the Ouroboros, the serpent, is the key to link in for the replications to be duplicated from source light into physical replication states of matter. So they were showing me that the serpent is the replication system of time, space, and entropy. And it is always eating its own tail because that is the process here is an entropic cycle. Everything here is about life, death, regeneration. So that is the serpent. So the mother is the serpent. So if you were to completely leave this solar system and leave the serpent system, bottom line is they show me that all that information in your soul that you've gathered here, you would have to give back to the mother.
Now, see, and that's interesting, because I want to, as you're saying that, that's where the divestige comes in, is that, you see, as you were saying this, and it's connecting to some of my sessions, is that the reason why the soul can't leave the earth for outer space and what have you is that it's made of the earth. Its energy is of the earth. It would not know of any other energy in which it would be, it it would be almost like the second death.
Yeah, that's why they say the spirit may not need the soul. And I'm like, I think that's
Right. I
right.
think
And
that's
that could be
correct.
the second death because you got to give it all back to mama. You got to give it all back
Mm-hmm.
to earth because that's her construct, her wisdom, and that's her dealing and creating the material realms. And all the information in the material realms are for her wisdom. So the father and the mother, the material and the
Wow.
spiritual might be separate realms of creation done on purpose
I
for
think
balance.
the spirit is of its own energy. And here's the interesting when you were saying that, because the earth would not give up of herself, of her energy to something outside of herself. She's the mother. I mean, that never changes.
Yeah, and she needs that for her regeneration
Bingo.
process.
Bingo.
Yes, part of her
Yeah.
life cycle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thus it makes sense, as you know, the esoteric that was, stolen, the becoming the word. It, from dust you came, from dust you shall be. So we know that there were humans that did not apparently have a spirit. Apparently, this breath thing, which to me is merely a metaphor of how spirits enter into this realm.
Right, because he could not rise until he had the
Yeah.
spirit blown into his
Into,
nostrils.
yeah.
Absolutely. It wasn't soul, it was spirit. And he already had soul.
Mhm.
He didn't have spirit to animate the soul, to
And this
animate.
gets back to this person that I was referencing that has this fear of death. I mean, never seen anything like it. It's it's sad because you can't talk to them.
Yeah.
They're so consumed with this, Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
hmm Yeah. It's sad. That's
It
sad.
is sad because
It's a
it
natural process on this planet to die. This is a
yeah,
planet where you come to experience entropy. You're supposed to die.
I
You're
don't
it's
think you really want to carry that kind of energy into, the ethereal realm. I think that just
I
and
see that
I
with
used to use
the
that.
way
That's a
people
bad
walk,
trip,
Wayne.
man. That's
I
just
just see it as totally organic. I can see myself as part of the smallest particle. So it's irrelevant. It's just a
yeah.
part.
But see, Trina, here's my take on this, dear. The reason
Mhm.
why there's so many of us in this little group, we're in the thousands, but we are a small group when you look at the big thing. And it's just me, I'll just say it. It's that because the vast majority here are spirit beings. I don't see many people pursuing the soul as I do seeing pursuing the spirit. And I can't help but not think that that tells me that that on another level, we're connecting to one another for a reason and for a purpose.
I think there's two
Yeah.
beings here, Wayne.
Two, and
And
that, yeah,
I keep
yeah,
seeing
the two shall
one.
become one.
No, well, yes,
Hey,
because you
there's
have
Jenny.
to.
Hey, Jenny.
I see that some of us come directly, are birthed and come from the sun, and some of us are birthed and come out of the moon, the lunar complexes. So I see that there's two different uh, beings, and I think that's why now all of us have been blended with both of those. So now we're all lunar and solar, and I think now that's our chakra system. It's everything. To come into this
Mm-hmm.
construct, you have to merge with both pieces. And I think that lunar aspect might be the serpent part, and that would be Luna, and that would be feminine, that would be mother. So it makes sense to me how that chain of creation could work. And then I also see it's very powerful because we're working with gold and silver.
Yeah, it's interesting as you were saying that, because I think a lot of us here, as we meet and come together and we get to know each other through our words, um, if there's one thing I would say about this channel and the subsequent other channels that are associated with, is that we consistently promote and bring forth the feminine. That the aspect of the feminine has been downtrodden by this demiurge that came in here and turned things upside down.
Yes.
And I think that for many of us, we're truly Mother Earth's warriors in a sense that we take it to the spiritual realm.
You know what? That's exactly what I've been thinking over the past few days. Another coincidence. I think our code, when you have soul, when it comes from solar, you've got the solar codes in the genetics, those control the stargates.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the reasons that the Lunars wanted to merge with the Solars, because they wanted access to the stargates, because we know we're stargates. But the codes and the access codes for the gates are in us.
So as you were talking, I'm going to be tomorrow. I'm going to be we're introducing the 12 gates, and the interesting thing in Egyptian lore about death, how interesting, is that it's the soul that has to go through these 12 gates, and that the reward, so the reward for the soul is that it obtains a spirit. It is a spirit. It goes from the soulish to the spiritual, to the
Yeah, we
spirit.
go back home. That's home, I think. That's home. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
well,
sure.
and I wonder how many of us, y'all, everyone out there,
Yeah.
um, we've probably known each other for eons. I
Yeah,
mean,
and many of us have been gone on vacation for a very
I
long
think that,
time, and then we're
you
gonna be like,
know,
"You're finally back!" Yeah.
it's like when it's like when you and Mary came out and had a chance to meet and what have you. That it's like that's what you find out about friendship, in the fact that you have this friendship without the physical presence. And when the
Yeah.
physical presence is merged with that, it's like, you've been here all your life. It's like, can't remember a time when I didn't know Trina.
Right,
It's like,
exactly. Yes, I think that's
yeah.
kind of what it's going to be like, because that's what I remember, Wayne, when I was very small. I remembered those higher realms. And I even remembered coming into the platforms to drop down into Earth. Now it's really weird. And that's really hard to put into words, but there's different realities I had to exist in before I could become a physical being. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I made my body. I remember creating my body. And it was based off an original image of myself that was given to me through my original essence of what I was. But it's blurry and it's not so it's an energy body, but needless to say, it's similar
Well, no,
to.
and to back that up, because you and I were talking prior to we went live, and welcome everybody. I see so many people in the chat room. Um, so we had to go to the store, the grocery store, and for Thursday's dinner. And by the way, tonight, 7:30 my time, I guess 6:30 your time.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be over. I think Nina will be there.
Yep.
I think Robert V will be there.
Yay.
And writers having a number of people kind of a get together for Thanksgiving. So over Raised by Giants, check
Yeah.
it out. Make sure
Hmm.
you come into it. I think it's going to be fun. We'll get together. Again, Raised by Giants, go over there, hit the remind button, and we'll see you there this evening. But as you and I were talking, there are so many people that are just freaking angry, and it's in their facial features. Their body begins to mold itself to this, I don't know what the hell you want to call it, this negative energy. And it's interesting because, Trina, as you said, well, I made my body. I knew what I was going to be doing. And it's interesting how, particularly older in life, you begin to reflect what your spirit, or is it the soul, really is.
It's so funny because when I was in the up higher realms, when I was a child, when I would go up there all the time, just organically, it felt like I was fully connected to both. Like I knew the will of creation for me in my heart. I knew what I was doing. I felt I was home. And I remember when it came time to go, I was like, I don't want to go. So those are my memories. Where those came from, I was born with them. So I don't know. But I remember both. And I know that the further down into the densities you get, the more disconnected from the spirit I felt. My spiritual part of me was being blocked. but my soul could still connect to the spirit, but it was more difficult the denser you came into. And I remember when I hit the third dimension, the electromagnetic field, the magnitude of this place, the magnets, that was, I couldn't even deal with that. It was so hard for my physical spirit to handle that crushing density of this magnetic field. It was just like, wow, I thought it was going to kill me. Like it was so crushing. So I really do. I remember realms of lightness and joy and cooperation. So,
You see, it's interesting. There's an individual was writing about some of their experiences back the same time that I was having, well, actually, it was a couple decades later. So I look at myself on the path and the journey that I've been on, and it's interesting because one of the things that I've always thought about was, here I was on the street at the age of 15, and I began to experiment with particularly hallucinogenics, LSD primarily. And I was telling this individual, I never had a bad trip, but all of my experiences while on LSD and then mescaline, etc., I have always been, I was always surrounded by other beings. And it was interesting because the trips for me were spiritual in nature, but I was just a kid. And it's interesting because I didn't have that formal religion as a kid, other than my mother having me baptized, when I was like 6 months old or a year and a half, whatever it was.
right.
So my point to this, Trina, and then I meet souls, spirit beings like yourself that had the same drive, the same path of spirituality, just on a different plane.
Yeah.
And we find out all those breadcrumbs as we bring together, we're really being able to make a loaf of bread here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see people saying they remember being from somewhere different too. They remember
Mm-hmm.
they knew something was different. I did
Yeah.
too. I always knew it, and I just didn't want to forget that question. I always remember was like, don't forget, that there's something bigger than this. Don't forget, don't forget, there's something bigger than this. And I just always worked on holding that memory of those memories I had when I was a child. I was like, these are important. Don't forget. The Lord would tell me, don't forget these. These are important. They're going to try to take these away from your memory. And I knew it was game on from age 3. They were going
Yeah.
to try
And it's
to
odd
take
that you're
my
mentioning
memory.
that. I
Yeah,
can
they were going
remember in my grandparents' living room, I think I was 4. Yeah. But I
to.
would have these experiences where everything around me was, and I still remember, it was the most beautiful blue green.
Yeah,
And as a child, I'm back there right now. I'm back in Santa Clara in my grandparent. I'm right there in that chair, and I'm seeing it again. And it has always, anyway, whatever that
right.
means,
Every
but
time you
it's
say
obviously
that,
something connected to
every time
where
you say
I
that, you
come
know what?
from. What's that,
I
babe?
know where it is. Every single time you say that, I get drawn right to it. That is the chakra of the higher heart.
Is
It's
that, well, thank you.
literally,
You
that's
see?
what it is. That's
Yeah.
your realm. It's
Yeah.
higher heart. And that's why you're so connected to the divine feminine, because that's her heart center. Higher heart is hers. And it's aqua, blue green.
Yeah. It's the most
That's
beautiful. I
her
mean,
field. And
I
see,
felt like it was a
mine,
cocoon.
yeah, oh yeah, that would make sense. The
That's
higher
what I
heart.
felt like.
Yeah, that's mama realm.
Wow.
Blue
Yeah.
green,
Yeah.
that's aqua, that's her field, that's her chakra, higher heart.
I was
And those
always
are
in the
the
fetal
hidden chakras.
position,
Those are the 5 hidden chakras that we need to understand. So those are part of them. So yeah, that's part of that. Those blendings of the colors, green with blue, blue with purple, indigo. See, we already have that level of
Mm,
acknowledgement, but we need to
interesting.
understand amber. Amber sits between the orange and the yellow and the red. It
Mm,
blends all 3. So when we start to integrate the chakra systems that are hidden within the chakra systems through the blending of the 2 systems, that's when you open up a whole new gateway of magic.
mm, 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 mm,
But that's
mm,
higher heart, Wayne. Every time you say that, they show me that's my home, my heart, higher heart.
mm.
And they show me that's where it is. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hmm, that's where you go."
Wow.
Hmm.
I love this group.
Yeah,
Hey, Robert Scott, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Wow, I am this I'm having to regroup because that was so intense when you were talking as I was it goes and show you that time is so relative and
yes,
that we as spiritual beings we can do time travel. I mean, that's exactly what I was back in Santa Clara. I was back and then back
absolutely,
there again. I mean, it's
absolutely.
almost like myself. You ever get this feeling like you're both seeing and projecting at the same time? I mean, it's like I'm almost as that small 4-year old kid who said he's almost kind of waving. I know you. You know,
That's
yeah,
yeah. And this is
yeah.
where my strongest anchor is Wayne, is my memories of my childhood. That
Mm-hmm.
is my strongest anchor. It's what I work on to remember as much as I can. That's why I love pictures and photo books, because it helps you remember. And I love to remember because I can look at all my different levels of awakening just through the images and the photos I've taken. I started taking pictures when I was in first grade.
Wow,
First
wow.
grade. So weird. Nobody did that. I was taking pictures in first grade. And by sixth grade, I was like, I had yearbooks of my friends. And they still to this day, they freak out because they see the pictures of them when they were children. They're like, I can't believe you still have these. I was like, I do. I love them. I knew when I was a child that what I was doing, I somehow, the world would try to take it away from me. And the Lord explained this to me. He said, hold on to this or you're going to forget it and you'll not remember me. You won't remember none of this. And I was like, oh, this is important. I can't forget this. And then he was like, remember, take pictures in your mind. And I was like, I'm going to take them in real life. I'm going to take them in my brain. I'm going to write them down. I'm going to do everything. And I started journaling in sixth grade.
It's so interesting as you were talking about this because I was immediately connecting those things that we did as children. And as we begin to develop, isn't it amazing that as I look back now, that child within me, what that child was doing is what helped save me in
Yeah.
my later life.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. I mean, you think about all the abuse, all the stuff that we've all endured, and it's that child that's looking back and saying, it's all right, I got you back.
Yeah. And they know they don't die. So they
True.
have, yeah,
Yeah.
so they got
Yeah.
no fear. They're like, you don't
Yeah.
understand. We're going to
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah.
They know
It's like,
that. They know
yeah.
that. They know that. That was the thing I wanted to hold on
Mm.
to most was where we come from. You
That's where
remember.
Jesus said, unless you be like a child, you'll
Like
never enter the
child.
kingdom of heaven.
Bingo, because you got to go back to where you started.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Because you
how
got
many
lost in the
people have
world.
sacrificed their child? They're talking about themselves as that child within, and that child within, unfortunately, the one that they either forgot or let go was the
Yeah.
very thing that was there to help save their soul.
Yes. And children are
Yeah.
so brave because they have no fear. They
Mm,
don't
mm,
even
mm.
understand to have it. So that's the most beautiful thing. That's why I would jump off the roof at 3 years old and knew that I would be okay. And thank God for angelic intervention because I was going to go,
Bye, Trina.
yeah, right.
Oh,
You
crap.
didn't. But I wouldn't do that as an
Uh,
adult. I would only trust
no, no.
the
But
angelic
as a
side
child,
of
yeah.
the children. That's right. There's different rules for big people.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
do
funny.
not advise
But
people.
I think there are a lot of us, we should really remember this. And I think for people that you're going to meet, it's 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 one of those things that we really don't think about is that child within us. And if you keep that child alive,
Oh, it's the best part of you.
when you're ready to exit out of this,
Yeah.
that child is going to be there. That child is what,
Will take you by the
wow.
hand. Say, come on, let
Yeah.
me show you where we got to
And
go.
and and those,
Yeah.
if you're struggling, your answer lies within yourself. go back and talk with that child.
That's why when the work
Yeah.
I do, the journey work, that's the main focus is getting you back reconnected with the inner child and letting the inner child show you what you need to know because they know more than you do because they still know spirit.
When I
They have
connected, it's when I
direct line.
came out of the coma that I was in, and I spent months, and I found myself, I was in a forest and there was this tree that has fallen, and that's where I was, you know? And you would think that the child that I was looking for would have been afraid, but that child was just sitting there grinning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, what's up?
about like that. What's up,
Yeah,
doc?
what's
You know,
up?
it's like, yeah, yeah,
What you want to do today?
Says, well, I've come to discover myself, and the child within me was said, well, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
And that was 35 years ago.
Yeah.
That child within me is still there. And I embrace that child because I still go out, and my wife will tell me at times, and because she knows the look, and I tell her I'm just in awe sometimes. I was found myself the other day watching the leaves fall, and I was seeing this ballet,
Yeah.
this intricate,
Absolutely.
force. I mean, I was in awe of that, Trina. It's like,
I keep seeing feathers, Wayne. I every time I'm
mm,
walking outside, feathers are falling from the sky. I keep seeing feathers
mm,
for a week.
yeah,
Lots of feathers. It's interesting. You're
wow,
seeing leaves and I'm seeing feathers. Weird.
yeah,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Whew. I'll tell you what, hitting the like button is worth the price of admission on this one. This is a powerful show. I mean, let me tell you, folks, I just sense in my spirit there's more than just a couple that needed to hear this.
We're just trying to figure out what we're doing, where we're coming
Yeah,
from, and how to get back
yeah,
to a balanced,
yeah.
happy place because this world has really gone crazy. So hopefully together we can figure out this mystery, but I really think we are making some serious headway. I know when I did have that dream, Wayne, and I put all this consciousness into play and I was embracing my inner child and saying, show me what I am. I need to know the truth. I'll drop it all if I know that we get home. And that was my sincere question. And that's when I had that response from this loud voice of 1,000 voices that said, my child, you now have been set free from the watery grave of which you
Mm,
slept. My
mm.
child, you now have been set free from the bondage of the serpent, which means I cut myself out of death.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Love that child. That's the
me
thing that
too.
is. You love that child. And I mean,
That's part of
you know,
me. That and my
well, it
angel.
is.
And
It
that's the other
is.
part. Wayne, I
Yeah.
always wonder too. I've been thinking about this a lot. You know how they say every single one of us gets our own personal guardian angel when we come
Mm-hmm.
to, I wonder if that's the Holy Spirit and that's the Spirit.
Mm. Everybody are seeing feathers, by the way,
Oh,
that you
I
mentioned.
love it. I love it.
Julie
Yay.
says trees are treasure. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
they
they
are.
are. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
I have some powerful spirit beings around. This place that I really didn't want to move to has proven to be a Shangri-La. I mean, it's just I have these,
Wow.
100-year-old trees out here that um great energy. And
Oh, they are.
as
They're
Mary Wynn said,
fantastic.
there's caves underneath our on a part of the property, as you know, and there was
Oh, I felt them too. I was
yeah, I
sweating.
mean, both
Like,
of you
there's
two. I mean,
something
Mary, it's
going
like
through here. And Mary's like, there's water right
there's
here. Right
water right here. Like,
I was
well,
like, I'm
really?
feeling it going all the way under my feet from there.
Hey,
It's
Rachel.
crazy.
It was
I
quite
could
amazing.
feel it. It was so powerful. I could feel the water underneath your home. I was like, you are sitting on top of a ley line. Holy shit.
And it's evident. It
Oh,
is.
yeah, you can feel it right when you
Yeah.
cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super strong.
We
Super strong.
have bouts of,
Yeah.
electrical situations at time, and it's like,
Bet you
okay.
do.
Yeah. It's like, okay. And
Which,
now
which
everybody's
Wayne,
calm.
you know what that means?
What's that?
Implement more grounding tools on your home. Implement more grounding tools because that means the energy is really coming in strong there, and you need to give it to Gaia and process it and ground it. We need to ground this energy around it.
Literally on the other side of that wall, that's exactly what's, yeah. Not
Awesome.
one, not two, but three.
Good. Yay.
So, yeah.
Yay.
Well, everybody, we love you. Jenny, get yourself
Look at
better.
this, Wayne.
Yeah.
This is another thing that I wrote. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's probably backwards anyways, but okay, it says Agram Mashamiel. This is an invisible god, a lord of the formation powers of the material world. In Pistis Sophia, it would be known as the one who works with Barbello, a manifestation of how a higher image through vibration can be brought into the manifested worlds.
How cool is that?
Yeah, a grandma Shamiel. Shamia. I can't say that. But it's weird.
Easy for you to say.
Match AMEI. It's almost like it's telling you that it's a picture code that can be brought into a machine and be animated into the AI, the MEIMAI. So yeah, there's something to all of this.
All right, everybody. Tune in tonight over at Ryder Lee's channel, Raised by Giants.
Fun.
You're going to be there.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. This one, I tell you, this has been a really, we used to use the phrase back in the day, this was really fucking heavy.
Right. And Wayne, I think we could probably do, which is so funny, I just heard so loudly, 13 different topics on the serpent, and we might get to the part of it.
I had a friend named Rachel. And it's amazing how you go back and she would be the one we'd get into these deep philosophical, we're stoned, but we're getting into these deep philosophical conversations. And more than once she says, this is too fucking heavy for me.
Right. Like I said, we're walking a path that's like a different one than most.
Yeah, and indeed, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
Ones who would walk the narrow path would be the ones to win the prize, and there would not be many who would find the narrow path. I'm pretty sure we are on the narrow path.
Yeah, I have no doubt of it, because I don't know too many other people could actually maintain and go, really?
Right. And process this conversation with any kind of clarity.
I kind of go like, those people are freaking weird, man.
Right.
We are. Never doubt the stimulation of eccentricity. That's all I got to tell you.
Most of my questions have all come from the Bible. This is where this is, because he told me not to read it till I was 33. When I was 33, he said, read it with me. And he read it to me in 3 different ways. And I just see things so different than most. And I think that saved me. But all of my really deep questions, Wayne, I think part of that team was counting on me not waking up, of getting me so indoctrinated. I would have never been able to break the spell, but I did. And that was mind-blowing. That's why I had to go through a serious initiation down in that canyon with that snake. That was an initiation, Wayne.
And all of us in one form or another have, in fact, did the initiation. Folks, we love you. We'll see you next week. Hopefully Jenny will be joining us. And thank you, Trina. Yes, Jenny, take care of those youngins and everybody else. Much love to you all. Thank you. You help in all of this. That's all I got to say. And we love your energy, and and Trina, all of you. Have a good thing. So I'll see you later on tonight with
I think our consciousness, the way that we've been together for so long, it's a powerful thing. I think I'm getting so much of this from you guys.
I think really it is. It's all of your damn faults. All of it's your fault.
Yes, you are friends, filling our minds with all this beautiful consciousness. So thank you.
Yeah, it's all your fault. Lauren, much love to you and to your lovely husband. And Lauren's all the way down in New Zealand now. She sent me some pictures.
Oh, beautiful.
Lives in a tropical paradise.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm envious, but happy
Me
for you.
too. Yes. Oh,
As
what
I
a
look
great.
outside and it's a steel gray, cold sky with wind blowing, they're down there in the